Thanks for joining us. You are watching On Deck with DeRo and Arch. This week episode is the first episode in a while that we have not had college basketball. College basketball ended this past Monday, so here in a second we're going to dive into some college basketball and sort of wrap that up for the year. But it's just it's a, it. We say this almost every week. It's a great time to be a sports fan. I think this time of year is no different. And we'll dive into some Major League Baseball and NBA playoffs and all those things that are coming our way here soon. But before I get there, Darren, good to see you, and thanks for joining me today.
You bet. I always look forward to this time of week when we get to sit down and talk all things sports.
Yep. And I'm going to throw you a little curveball. We did not talk about this off air, but I wanted to do this just before it got away from me. Just recently, you sort of, in your words, retired from coaching. Formally stepped away from your present job, and who knows? Coaches, they're hard to put them away sometimes. So you may end up somewhere at some point again. But if that indeed was your last hurrah as a coach, congratulations on a great run. Not only did you have a ton of success on the court, but the relationships and then the things you did off the court are even better. So I just wanted to give you a little shout out here on the air.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I know the one person that knows that I will not be coaching again, and that's me.
Well, you've done great things, and never say never. But I also hear a little different sense of definiteness on
Yeah.
this one. So you did great things, and you know I'm not going to list your accolades on here because that would make you uncomfortable. I know it's just, that's not your style, but just tons of success with you know girls teams, boys teams, and at college and high school, all levels, and you just did really good things. So congratulations on a great run. Enjoy the retirement gig. I'm sure you'll be just as good in that one as you were in your other gig.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the kind words.
You bet. You bet. College basketball. Final Four was this past Saturday. Championship game was Monday night. Michigan versus UConn. We won't rehash the game a ton. One of the things that is apparent that we kind of mentioned previously was Michigan was pretty good most of the time this entire year, and I think that sort of played its way out. I think you and I had said earlier in some earlier broadcasts that we felt like that perhaps Michigan and Arizona were maybe the two steadiest teams along the way. And as it turned out, Michigan was there. Interesting comment from Matt Painter, and I don't know when he made this comment, but the coach at Purdue, at some point during the year, I don't know if this was early on or what, but he said that they would not lose more than 4 games, that Michigan would not lose more than 4 games. And as it turns out, they lost 4. So even he knew early on how good Michigan was. So any quick thoughts about the game?
In the championship game, I thought Dan Hurley and UConn had a great game plan. They just didn't have the horses to be able to see it to the end. And I think in true NIL transfer portal style, Michigan becomes the first team to win with 5 transfers starting on their
Yeah.
teams. So I think it's um, I think that coaching staff and university got out ahead of the game,
Yeah.
and you see the results. They won a national championship as a result.
And made this comment a lot of times on the show, but everything's copycat when it comes to sports. So it will be interesting to see, what those major teams do next year in terms of, hey, are they going to completely revamp? Are they going to try to retain and all those things? But the blueprint seemingly is there to go out and build your team from scratch and bring them in and do that. So uh, be interesting to see that for sure. In terms of NCAA basketball, I've got 4 or 5 just bullet points here. I'm going to throw them all out at once, and then you can just sort of talk about them as it comes to your mind, and I will sort of bounce in as well. Just going to give you some really quick facts and things to consider. Okay. Um, in on the docket now, NCAA, there is an eligibility 5-year clock for Division One athletes. That clock would start at either age 19 or upon your high school graduation, whichever one fits your situation. So that is being considered by the NCAA at this point. Um, One of the things that, and we didn't talk about this part of it off the air, but one of the things that I read about that was that there's sort of some labor considerations now that the courts would consider or hear differently now that the players are paid. Does the NCAA have the right to control so tightly the time frames in which kids can go make that, and which players can go make that money? And what I read was that the courts, at least lately, have had a tendency to lean in favor of the athlete in terms of a labor law. So something to consider here there. An eligibility 5-year clock starts at age 19 or upon your high school graduation. Second point, it officially now, I think as of today, 50% of Division One basketball players are now in the portal. I think that's on the men's side. So officially half of all Division One men's basketball players are in the portal. There are 20 teams, 20 Division One schools that have 5 or more players from their team in the portal. And then the last fact that I'm going to throw your way is I don't know a lot about this, but from what I've read, universities, there is an equity disclaimer that schools have to give regarding public institutions, regarding revenue and expenditures for their athletic programs. And they divided out men's and women's and by sport and all those kind of things. I think every public university is required to do that. And I'm just going to shoot you some Penn State numbers. Penn State in 24-25, school year 24-25, their football program netted, this is net, $57 million. Okay. Their men's basketball netted $172,000. Okay. The remaining, and I counted 21 or 23 programs, I forget the actual number, but the remaining 20 plus athletic programs all lost money. Women's volleyball, baseball, track and field, and women's basketball at Penn State lost $13.5 million in 24-25. So when people say, hey, football pays the bills, football truly paid the bills. Their net gain at Penn State, based on this report, over for their whole athletic program was a net gain of $223,000. So their football program netted $57 million. The athletic program as a whole, $223,000. Okay. So I've thrown a lot at you, man. So just let her rip. Let's see what you have to say.
Man, that's a whole lot of money as far as Penn State's concerned, in and out of your hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, you talk about the what drives the bus at least at Penn State is obviously football.
Yeah.
But my goodness, I mean, what a responsibility to shoulder, and no wonder that they got rid of their coach the way that they did in the middle of the season, and they're trying to maintain that, I guess, that income, and not let it drop off before
Yeah.
That surplus of what, 250,000 for the year,
It does
goes
make
by
it
the
does make you
wayside.
see those changes, that coaching change differently, I think, right? Like,
I think
uh,
you have to, yeah. I mean, especially if your money people start, um, you know, howling at the moon a little bit.
yeah, yeah.
Um, you've got to, as an AD or president, you're forced to do something about it. So that's very interesting. I wonder how all of the I wonder if that's just general revenue, what you're bringing into and what's going out of the university based off of um, their budgets
Yeah,
that's within the school. I wonder if like TV money and
right.
NIL money that's given. I would wonder. I'd like to see how all that's worked in, and if that's part of it. Wow.
Yeah,
I guess. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, I jumped in on you there, but, yeah, I would like to see how that's calculated, what they're actually considering when they say revenue and expenditures and those kind of things. Um, the eye-opening thing for me is that 20 plus the remaining 20 plus programs are in the red, like, not just by a little bit, by a lot.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's hard to believe that schools just operate in the red with to that extent with their other programs.
Well, and you've got to figure, I mean, just in their conference alone, you've got 21 different programs that are traveling completely across the
Yeah,
United States for at least a minimum of 4 days, maybe 2 or 3 times a year to go play conference games. And um, if you're taking a softball team or a baseball team, where you're carrying 40,
yeah,
50 kids, that's I mean, that I can kinda see that, but to think that football really drives that whole athletic program, I mean, in general terms, you would think your money or your revenue generating sports would be not only football, but men's basketball, women's basketball, and if
yeah.
you've got a really good baseball program, I think in some universities it can drive itself, but my goodness, that's a shocker.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think maybe some of those southern, southeast baseball programs, they might operate in the black. Some of those Florida States and Vanderbilts and some of those powerhouse college baseball programs might get in the black. Uh, but you're right. I mean, it appears that football, at your major institutions, you better be good in football. You better have some money there, because it's going to affect everything else you do.
Yeah,
So,
I think the other thing that really, out of all those bullet points that you talked about, and I think we talked about this probably this time last year, 50% of all basketball players at the Division I level are in the portal.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
I mean, wow. On average, I think you're allowed to have 15 full scholarships at the Division I level, and I may be wrong on that. It's changed since I was worried about that stuff more than
right.
I am now. But I mean, that's a third of your team gone.
Yeah,
That's not counting losses to graduation,
right,
injuries, different things like that. Eligibilities ran out. So wow,
right.
and I would imagine that when pieces start to move within the portal, that number is going to continue to climb
I would think
um,
so.
when kids figure out, oh, they're recruiting over me. I need to
Yeah.
jump out or hey, this kid's getting this much money and I'm only getting paid
Hmm.
this. I got to go get mine. You
Yep.
know, so that yeah, that's
Because
that's
it's
incredible.
almost like in coaching when there's vacancy, like every move results in a corresponding move, right? Like
Yeah.
there's another move that takes place as a result of the previous move.
Right, it's what we call the domino effect in,
Yeah,
coach speak.
right.
Dominoes are starting to fall,
Yep.
and same thing's got to happen with
Yeah.
athletes in college. Yeah, for sure.
Hey, and we back to the eligibility thing, and then we'll just move on from this. But
Mhm. Yeah.
one of the questions that you and I ask and we didn't have time to get an answer for this, but on the docket is this 5-year eligibility clock that student athletes are going to have. What we don't know, or what we didn't find out the answer to, does that allow them to play 5 years in that 5-year clock, or is it the traditional 4 years in 5-year span? So uh, I do think that eligibility clock is a good thing, and I got to believe that everybody else involved thinks it's a good thing too. Wouldn't you think?
Yes, it has to be. There has to be some limitations. Um, I mean, you've got the kid that's the quarterback at Ole Miss that won a lawsuit to be able to have his
Yeah.
6th year of eligibility. Um, I mean, it's just got to go, and that's another whole other Pandora's box that we just opened up. What if a kid um, on, say, their last year of eligibility is their 5th year and they become injured? Are they granted that extra year?
Right.
So there's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts about the whole thing, and a lot of the lawsuits with that have gone to state and uh, state courts and up have more times than not resulted in the student athlete being awarded that extra year of eligibility um, due to specific injuries or things along those lines. So
Yeah.
it'll be
Yeah.
interesting to see how this pans out.
For sure. And just one more little tidbit about NCAA basketball before we sort of shut the door on that. Uh, we were talking earlier as well that there are still, on the women's side, there are still 20 plus head coaching jobs at Division 1, at the Division 1 level. So there are 20 plus universities that's at the Division 1 level still don't have a women's head basketball coach. So uh, portals open and these places don't have coaches, and man, it's a lot. It's a lot to
Yeah.
take in. So just a lot of moving pieces. There's always been a lot of moving parts, but it seems even more so now. So anyway, great NCAA basketball season. I thought the tournament was fantastic. The parity, we've talked about the parity over and over, but there some nights there's not much difference between number 1 and number 68 in that field. So it's makes for great entertainment. Um, I think I will mention, just before we kind of switch gears completely, NBA playoffs are due to start, I believe, about a week from now ish. Regular season's coming to a close. I think we will start to, on this show, speak some more about the NBA playoffs. I think you and I both, if we're just being honest, we start to engage a little bit more when the playoffs roll around. I really don't catch much regular season stuff in the NBA, and hate to say this, but just a lot of times not super interested in the NBA in terms of regular season. But I do enjoy the NBA playoffs, particularly the early rounds. I think I like some of those matchups, and so a week from now, NBA playoffs start, and I think you and I will talk some NBA as the spring goes on. Um, in coaching news, Michael Malone, who's had s- tons of success at the NBA level, obviously, was the person selected to coach the North Carolina Tar Heels men's basketball program for next season. Probably the biggest signature piece of this is he's sort of outside of the traditional hire that North Carolina makes. So, give me your thoughts on Malone to Carolina, and just kind of what you see there.
Yeah, it in all honesty, it makes sense. He has a daughter that plays on the volleyball team there, so obviously being able to move closer to her and um, be able to run such a storied program, that's a great opportunity. Honestly, I think it's a great get for North Carolina. He automatically has that NBA pedigree that a lot of the high school and transfer players are looking for. He's been there, he's done that, he has those connections, he's coached at that level. And whether a kid has the talent to make it or not, a lot of them aspire to get to that level.
For sure.
And I think that's an automatic draw to um, possibly go to North Carolina for some of these top tier recruits and get back to being a quote unquote blue blood, if
Yeah,
there is such a thing anymore.
right.
Um, as far as going outside of the family tree, I think that North Carolina realized after this last go around that they had to
Yeah,
take a look at the players, former players that were currently in coaching. There just wasn't that no-brainer hire
yeah,
to be able to do that, and I think people are clamoring to get back to those glory days of Dean Smith and Roy Williams. That they realized they had to go outside that family tree and hire the best person available. And you think about this, how many people turned them down and said they were not interested? That's North Carolina. They are coming to you to ask to coach their basketball team, and you're saying no as a head coach. That's what I think amazes me more than anything. Um, just that I think it's a sign of the times. The climate has changed. Um, Danny Hurley has captured magic in a bottle with this transfer portal, and I think that he and his staff have got things figured out to be able to sustain that success level with all the defections and
right.
incoming players and different things like that. So um, a lot of people don't like his style, but he certainly has shown a moxie for being able to create a national contender year in and year out by playing in three of the last four national championship games.
Yeah, that's a great point you made about people turning down the Carolina job. You know, even as I'm going to say, even as recent as 10 years ago ish, I, I don't think that happens. Hey, my time frame may be just a tad off, but hey, 15 years, 20 years ago, nobody turns that job down. I mean, Coach K at Duke doesn't turn it, or he doesn't take it, but I don't know if there's anybody else around that would turn it down. So you're right, just kind of changed. Um, I do think it was a progressive move for North Carolina, and I think they needed to be progressive. I mean, I think that speaks to your
Absolutely.
point. I mean, they had to get somebody that understood and was willing to get outside of what sort of normally happens at Carolina. Whether you and I like that or not, it just that you just don't bring in 19 year olds and keep them for 3 or 4 years, and that's what we're kind of used to at Carolina for the most part. Um, so different times, I think Carolina made the right move as well. I think they had to get progressive, and they made a choice to do that. So I will circle back to Michael Malone later in the show for a little hold 'em and fold 'em for you. So I'll we'll visit that here in a little bit. Going to turn our attention to Major League Baseball. Season is still very young, but just some interesting things that I've sort of jotted down this week. This is as of yesterday, so it's changed since yesterday. But at one point, all five teams in the NL Central were 500 or above. So the NL Central features the Brewers, the Cardinals, the Pirates, the Cubs, and the Reds. All of those teams were 500 or above. In the American League, there were only six teams total that were above 500 or at 500 or above. So, again, that doesn't mean anything. It's early, but that's just kind of an interesting. And you made the point that the interleague play has maybe kind of shaped that a little bit differently than it has in the past.
Yeah, I think so. And it's early. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, we're not even a thousandth of the way through.
Right.
It
Right.
feels like through the season yet, but I sure am glad it's back. And it's been neat to watch the great start by some of the teams that were kind of question marks.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it, St. Louis Cardinals. Hey, they've come out with their hair on fire,
Yeah.
and they're a pretty fun and exciting team to watch.
Yeah.
Um, that group, if they can keep just playing hard, I think they're going to have the city of St. Louis in the palm of their hands. And um, I think Chime Bloom is going to look like the smartest man that was ever stepped foot in the state of Missouri. So,
Yeah.
um, I think he did what Mozeliak should have done
Yeah.
15 years ago. And I understand that a lot of our diehard Cubs fans, or I'm sorry,
Whoa,
Cardinals
easy.
fans, yeah, Freudian slip right there. Um, I know that it's not the Cardinals way,
Mhm.
and but the Cardinals way hasn't worked since 2011, and it's time to once again be progressive
Yeah.
in how you're thinking, how you approach. You got to have a fire sale at least once every 7 to 10 years. I don't care. You just can't not do it. So um, Chime Bloom has had the, I guess, guts for a
Right.
proper term to be able to use in a show like this,
Right.
um, to be able to have a fire sale, get rid of some of the hangers on that were eating up salary,
Yeah.
and bolster up that minor league system and start from scratch. And it's proven to be a good formula so far.
I agree. And you and I are, and hey, we may eat these words, but we're not naive. I mean, we don't see the Cardinals having enough pitching to to really make a run at this thing. And if they do, great. But you know, their arms will be tested definitely. I think their lineup pieces are further along than maybe they anticipated, at least for now. Their arms are just like most teams' arms. They're suspect and very day to day. Uh, But your point is they needed a shakeup. That's probably the best word I can say. And again, I'm not throwing darts at the previous general managers and management, like because that's easy to do from behind this screen. But the shakeup was probably long overdue. Needed to happen at least 3 to 4 years ago, and perhaps even prior to that, if we're just being honest. So, yeah, good to see the Cardinals competing, and they do have a certain energy that will be easy to fall in love with, as your point. So, uh, if the Cardinals stay on the same pace, they'll win 90 plus. So there's that. Cardinals fans, you can hold on to that and see how that works out. Um, but yes, I agree with you. Playing well and fun to watch. One of the things I was struck by this week is by the way, uh, MLB TV. If you're a baseball person and you don't have that, you are missing out. I mean, that's the best thing ever. But had a chance to watch several different games this week. Super impressed with just a lot of the young arms that are out there. Most people know, even the casual baseball fan knows about Paul Skeens and how good he is, but he is just one of several guys out there that are really talented and have tremendous upside. I'm going to mention I watched Jack Leiter pitch the other night for the Rangers. His dad pitched in the major leagues for nearly 20 years, and I think he had an uncle and maybe a
Uncle,
cousin or
yes.
something. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
so I mean
Correct.
they they know how to play, but his stuff was phenomenal. I mean, high velocity fastball, challenged hitters. I mean, unafraid out there. Chase Burns for the Reds. I'm a Reds fan, but if you haven't watched Chase Burns pitch, really, really good, fun to watch, electric. Alcantara for Miami. He's not quite as young as those other guys, but I mean, he's tremendous. So I think my point with all that is the young pitchers in the league, they're fun to watch.
Yeah, there's a lot of good, just young players in general
Yeah.
across the league right now that are really getting out of the gates quick and kind of making a name for themselves. You know, the thing you have to be careful with as a fan is realize that 162 games is an awfully long time, and you, especially with what we you talked about earlier, if it's a young pitcher, um, you know, Cade Horton was a rookie last year for the Chicago Cubs. Hey, they limited him.
Yeah.
I mean, they managed his pitch count. Once he got to 70, it didn't matter. He could have been throwing a perfect game. He was coming out. Well, uh, his second start in the season, blew out his elbow, and he's having Tommy John surgery.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's the wear and tear on young athletes, the grind that they haven't experienced before. Um, Playing a game at finishing up near midnight and then turning around, have to
Mhm.
play at noon the next day. Um, it's things like that that, in the end, the ones that are left standing, you can tell are the kids that are going to be special. And when they're able to have success on a consistent basis, much like what Paul Skeens did last year,
Yeah.
that you know that they're going to be really good ball players.
Uh, my son, who is, uh, in my opinion, a really good baseball guy, understands it, knows it, has great instincts for it. I mean, he talks a lot about pitchers throwing with max velocity, maximum effort every pitch, and
Oh,
that's sort of the difference between this era and the previous era. Those guys didn't necessarily throw with max velocity, max effort every pitch. They they truly did try to just settle in for the long haul, and so I think that's probably attributes to the injuries. It's not only an overuse thing, which you referenced, but it's
right.
a max effort thing, and the combination of the two uh, takes. I mean, Steven Strasburg is a great example of that. The guy with unlimited potential and could just blow people away, but just never could get through the injury bug.
Yeah.
Probably the generation before that. I mean, we'd probably reference Mark Pryor, honestly,
Oh,
as
yes.
a
Yeah.
similar situation. Guy with unbelievable potential, but arm injuries and just overuse and max velocity and all those things
Yep.
just didn't work out for him. But yeah, and I think it'll be really good for the game if they can figure out a way to protect these pitchers and give them a longer career. I think you and I have talked a lot about this. Major League Baseball has done a really good job of trying to re-engage the average baseball fan. You and I, we're going to watch baseball no matter what. Like it doesn't matter. But not everybody's going to be that way, and a lot of people need a reason to engage with baseball. One of the things that would help that is if they can have a familiarity with the people that are playing it, right? So if Chase Burns can stay healthy and pitch for 12, 15 years, then all of a sudden they can follow him, and that helps him to stay attached. If Chase Burns has Tommy John neck surgery and is out in 5 years, and then it's just another name. And so I'm hoping that, and I know they're trying, those clubs are trying to protect those guys. They got millions of dollars invested in them. But I think for the game's sake, if we can get our pitchers to stay in the game for 12 or 15 years, um, that familiarity sort of lends itself to viewership, which is what Major League Baseball is trying to do. So, I mean, you may have other thoughts. I may be way off base there, but I think there's something to that.
Oh, I agree. Um, you are you are spot on, and I think that's part of the and reverting back to college basketball. I think that's some of the frustration from fans is that by the time they learn some of the kids that are in the program,
Mm,
they're off in the transfer portal,
exactly right.
and you're cheering more for a uniform, which that should be 50% of the equation, but it's also the familiarity of
Yeah.
those players that oh, I can't wait to see this kid in 10 years, or I mean, in 2 years when he's a
Yeah.
junior. Um, it just doesn't happen.
Doesn't work out that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, Excited about Major League Baseball. Love it. You love it. And so just it's exciting to just I'm telling you again, hey, and I ought to Major League Baseball ought to pay me for this promo, but MLB TV, if you don't have it and you're a baseball person, it will be the best $149.99 you'll ever spend. Like it's phenomenal. So
I'm telling you, I've done it for the last 5 years, and we're what, 2.5 weeks into the season.
yeah,
I've already paid for it. It's already paid for itself. As many games as I've watched, the rest of the year for me is free.
I'm with you. Like it's I will catch some game, sometime every day. Like there won't there that's not a day goes by that I don't catch part of a game.
Yeah,
So
I've watched 2 games already today.
that's yeah, it's
Can't
great.
beat it.
Great. Before I switch out of Major League Baseball, one thing that I sort of track, and hey, this is not scientific. This is just DeRo's way of looking at things. Uh, but there is some truth to it. Run differential for me, like if I'm sort of watching a team and seeing how they're, you know, how they might project out over the long haul or not project out, uh, I tend to watch that run differential. I think that's a really key stat. Um, and it's really early in the season. Uh, but I'm going to throw a couple of things at you. I mentioned the NL Central earlier. Just you and I are fans of that division. Um, the Reds are 8-4, and they have a negative run differential, so they have given up more runs than they've scored, but they're still 8-4. Okay, um, the Cardinals, who are above 500, they are -9, I believe, on the year. So they have given up 9 more than they've scored. It would make sense that those two teams, for them to have success, they've got to reverse that. They've got to get on the plus side of that in the long haul. My point with this is two mainstays in the NL, the Brewers and the Dodgers, they're both plus 34 already on the year, which tells me, and those teams have good records already, but that tells me if that trend continues, those two teams aren't going away.
No. Yeah, I agree. And it tells two stories. You're generating runs, and you've got a darn good pitching
Yes.
staff
Yep.
that aren't allowing many runs. And obviously, I've always said when it comes to postseason time, you've got to have a staff, a healthy staff of pitchers, from starters to middlemen to
Right.
setup men to closers.
Yep.
You've got to have um, the full unit as far as the pitching staff is concerned, and the rest is probably going to take care of itself because your offense has generated enough runs to win games anyway.
Right.
That's then it becomes which players are on a hot streak and which players are going through a slump, basically,
Right.
offensively. So, yeah, there's a lot to be said about that. I'll tell you one thing I try not to do is I try not to look at that stuff until about late May, early June.
Yeah.
I think by that time the dust has had time to settle.
Right.
Um, Injuries that are bound to happen most of the time occur prior to the All Star break.
Yeah.
And at that point in time, teams that are going to be sellers and teams that are going to be buyers, a lot of that's going to generate off of what you just mentioned with the run differential, and how can they move both ends of the spectrum
Hmm.
to where they're on that plus side. If you look at ESPN, they're on that green. They've got that green number there
Yep.
instead of the negative and the red. And um, But I agree completely. If we fast forward 9 months from now, and it's the last 2 weeks of the season, you can go to that run differential, and that's going to tell you a lot of the story of the success or lack thereof that teams have had throughout this year.
Agree. And it truly is because of what you've already referenced. This thing is a marathon. Baseball season's a marathon. So, like, by the end of the 162 games, there's enough data. There's enough
Yeah,
space. There's enough microcosms that build on one another to paint a full picture of teams.
right.
And you're right. Teams that are in the green have the best chance to win. I mean, that's just how that goes. So, great stuff going on in Major League Baseball. All right. We have come to the Hold'em Fold'em sequence of our show. Coach Archer, I have 3 scenarios for you today, and you need to decide. I'm going to give you a premise with each one, and you need to decide whether you're going to hold it or fold it. Okay. Try to get creative and get outside the box with these things. Some of them are funny and some of them are serious. And so we're just going to throw one at you to start with. This one's a little more, probably a little more relevant to you and I. Well, it used to be relevant to you until a few days ago. But shot clock in Missouri, high school basketball shot clock. Here's the premise. You have to decide whether you're going to hold it or fold it. Statewide, the state of Missouri, all classes will utilize a shot clock in or before the 27-28 school year. So that's not next school year, but the following. State of Missouri, all classes will utilize the shot clock by 27-28.
I'm hold'em.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is every high school association that surrounds the state of Missouri has already moved to a shot clock.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're utilizing shot clocks in tournaments now. I think that's just a precursor to of things to come, and I think for the most part, most of the coaches that I've talked to have really liked the shot clock. There'll be some coaches that are against it that like to slow the game down and keep it in the
Right.
40s. And I'm sure Dan Hurley wished there wasn't a shot clock a couple a couple nights ago. They may have
Absolutely.
still been playing overtimes right now, but
Yeah.
I think it's inevitable.
Yeah.
It's coming. Yeah,
Okay.
I think 2 seasons from now it'll be implemented.
Yeah. Yeah. I would agree. I would hold that as well. So
And if it's not, it should be. I mean,
I
we as a coaches association really need to take a close look at ourselves, and are we allowing the game to progress the way it is throughout the rest of the United States?
right.
And if we're going to be progressive and keep up with the Jimmys and Joes and Sallys and Sues of the basketball world from other states, and yeah, but let's get it going. Let's go. Let's jump on board.
Agree. I agree. Second, Hold'em and Fold'em. I mentioned Coach Michael Malone earlier and how he accepted the North Carolina job. Coach Malone's got a tremendous NBA pedigree, which you sort of spoke of the value of that. So here's the Hold'em and Fold'em. It was reported that Coach Malone signed a 5-year contract uh, in the neighborhood of $50 million, which is, I don't know, that's a nice contract. It's not super inflated based on today's rates, but obviously a nice contract. That contract is very similar to the contract that the football coach at North Carolina signed 2 years ago. That guy's name is Bill Belichick. He signed a 5-year deal 2 years ago that was in the neighborhood of $50 million. Okay. So they essentially paid the same for those two guys. Here's the hold 'em and fold 'em. Belichick has 3 years left on his contract. Malone has 5. The hold 'em and fold 'em is Coach Malone will last longer at North Carolina than Coach Belichick will. So in other words, his shelf life, he's going to outlast Belichick. So that what that essentially saying is that he's going to make it to year 4 of his contract if Belichick sees his through.
Got you. Uh, I'm Hold'em.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
honestly, when 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 Belichick took the North Carolina job, I felt like he took it to set his son up to be a head coach.
Mhm.
His son's been a defensive coordinator in the NFL and throughout the college ranks, and I really felt like the way everything was set up, um, Belichick would kind of get things rolling, and then turn the keys over to his son, and Bill Belichick would ride off into the sunset with his 25-year-old girlfriend and live the rest of his life. But yeah, I think Malone. The only problem I think that North Carolina is going to have with Malone, I don't think he leaves North Carolina to go to another college job if
Mhm.
things get hot. But somebody from the NBA is going to come knocking.
Yeah.
And can he say no to the lifestyle coaching wise that he's
Yeah.
known up to this point in time in his life? So I would say that's the only thing. He's going to have success at
Right.
North Carolina. He's too good of a coach,
Right.
and like I said, he has that experience at the NBA level that I think that a lot of young kids are looking for that,
Mhm.
I guess,
Yeah.
bridge from college basketball to the NBA.
Yeah.
And I think that's an automatic attraction for a lot of your top tier talent. Um, so yeah, I'm hold 'em, but I'm going to have to bluff on my hold a little bit because you never know what NBA team's going to come knocking. And I mean, NBA teams uh, you know, get rid of coaches like we try to get rid of flies in our house, or just swatting them away. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, that would be my only side note, I guess.
Right. Well, and I mean, in the world of cutthroat NBA coaching, like teams will contact him. Like the regular season ends, I guess this coming weekend. Hey, there will be teams reach out to him as soon as the NBA season's over this
Yeah,
year. Like even though he's just been announced, like he's, I mean, he's got that kind of reputation. It appears.
yeah.
And there'll be teams reach out right away. Um, So, yeah, you may be right. The toughest test for him may not be what he's doing in North Carolina. It may be what other people are throwing his way from the professional ranks.
Well, you think about it, when Denver let him go, they were in the playoffs. They were making the playoffs
He's, yeah,
in less than what, 2 or 3 weeks from when
yeah,
the playoffs began,
timing of that was
and
crazy. I mean,
horrible.
crazy. Yeah,
Yeah, horrible. So, I mean, it's not like the guy was falling flat on his face
right.
and
Yeah,
not having success. He was, you know, taking them to the playoffs, which for a lot of programs in the NBA, that's you got to get there to win a title. And
agreed.
he had them there.
Agree. All right, last Hold'em and Fold'em. Tried to weave in something about your Cubs, but this isn't exclusively about them. I was sort of looking at the the major league schedule as a whole. Um, First of all, it ends a little sooner than sometimes. The last date, I believe, is September the 27th. There have been seasons based on the calendar where the last weekend of the seasons actually takes you into October. This year, I think it's the 27th of September. One of the things I sort of run across was I was looking at the Cardinals, is how I started all this. The Cardinals and the Cubs, the last time that they play this year is in mid July, which for teams in the same division, that I mean, that's rare, I think. Even in today's terms, that's rare. Um, so this idea that the division may be settled between the Cubs Cardinals matchup in the third weekend of September, it's not going to happen that way. So that made me look a little bit further. Um, the Cubs actually have several division series in September. They play the Pirates 3 times. They play the Reds 3 times, and they play the Brewers 6 times, all in September. And again, that season ends on September 27th. So there's 12 division games in 27 days. So my hold 'em and fold 'em for you is all 4 of those teams, Cubs, Pirates, Reds, and Brewers. All 4 of those teams will be within 3 games of a playoff spot when September starts, which will make for some great baseball if that's the case.
Yeah.
So hold 'em or fold 'em. Those 4 teams within 3 games of a playoff spot in September.
Gosh, I wouldn't say all 4, but I could
Mhm.
certainly see 3.
Yeah.
Um, and honestly, I think it will be the same 3 as it was last year, with the Reds, the Cubs, and and Milwaukee.
Right.
I think it just kind of lends itself to that. All of them have great pitching staffs, and when their bats are hot, it seems to be contagious.
Yeah.
It's really early uh, to kind of get a feel for that. None of the 3 are world beaters, but they
Yeah.
sure have a chance to screw it up for somebody.
That.
Like
Yeah.
I could see, um, you know, if Cincinnati opened up with LA again this year, given the experience that they have and some of the additions that they've added over the summer, I I could see them running it for the Dodgers.
That would,
Honestly,
gosh.
it would not surprise me. I think a lot of the general public would be surprised, but
Right.
for those of us that um, follow baseball the way that we do, and the ups and downs and
Right.
injuries by that time, and I heard somebody say the other day that the Dodgers are capable of winning 112 to 115 games this year, which by all means they probably are capable. But front office and managing will probably only allow it to get to 105 to make sure that they have all their pieces in place come playoff time, that they're coaching for the postseason right now. And I guess the easiest comparison you can make would be um, in the NBA when your stars are sitting out some nights, and it's just load management. And I think that Doug Roberts has kind of taken that, or Dave Roberts, I'm sorry, has taken that uh, mindset, knowing what
Mhm.
type of all stars he has, and having all guns ablazing when it comes playoff time.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, you
I
think about it, DeRo. You think about it. Otani goes down with another elbow. Their whole, I mean that whole complexion of that team shifts
That's.
one person,
Yeah.
and I think that that's what they're guarding against.
Well, and neither one of us truly think that Pittsburgh's ready to even make a run and be in playoff even conversation. But one thing we do know, if they lose one guy, they won't be there,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Like if they lose Paul
absolutely.
Skeens, no shot, right? With him, there's glimmer of hope for Pittsburgh fans, right? Because you're thinking, hey, once every 5 days, we got a pretty good chance. And so if we can string together out of the remaining 4 days, if we can win 2 of those and stay at 500 on the other days, got a chance, right? Um, but to your point, without him, no shot, no
Right,
shot. So the Dodgers, it's the same concept. It's just at a different level, right? It's the same thing. They can't
yeah,
achieve nearly what they would with Otani as they would
right,
without him. So, yep, good stuff. Good stuff.
yeah, great. Those are tough ones. My
Yeah.
gosh, you made
Well,
this old man think a little bit. My
well,
ears are
that's good.
smoking.
That's good. I try to come up with things that make you think. So, well, I think it's been a great show. I've enjoyed visiting with you, and like I say, NBA playoffs coming up soon. So I think there'll be some great stories that will evolve out of there as well. So looking forward to some more weeks down the road where we can talk basketball on a different level, professional basketball, and baseball will start to hit full stride at that point as well. So thanks for joining me today. I think it's been a great show.
Absolutely. Always enjoy it, DeRo, and just want to invite our listeners and viewers. Hey, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, X, and also we have a Facebook account, Missouri Sports Network. Give us a follow there as well to keep up with all of the latest and greatest high school, college, professional sports throughout the state of Missouri, and be the smartest fan in the stands
I love
through
it,
Missouri Sports Network.
man. I love it. Yep, it's been great. Fan or viewers, thanks for joining us. Again, if you have any ideas or things that we need to know, please reach out. We'd love to tell your story. We certainly don't catch everything through the week, but would love to get some new information or new ways that we can recognize players and teams, particularly that are kind of somehow connected to the state of Missouri. So thanks for joining us. For Darren Archer, I am Eric DeRosset. You have been watching On Deck with DeRo and Arch. We will see you next week.
This has been a presentation of the Missouri Sports Network. Thank you for tuning in.